Hey guys, welcome back to more homeowner association tales. In today's video, an HOA Karen calls the police on a grandpa for fishing at a public facility, accusing him of breaking the HOA bylaws. This lady believes that she is above the law. Let us get straight into the stories. The first is from our /FHOA and is called Resident Mad because my HOA refused to hire her company to manage our HOA. And by the way, dudes, this tale is slightly out of the ordinary. So I was president of our HOA for a few years. It was relaxed, no snooping around for violations or anything like that. We kept costs low by running the HOA ourselves. That's how it was organized in the late 90s when the community was constructed. Woman and husband move in, and she is quick to share with everyone how awful the HOA is running everything. She would attend our once-a-month meeting and tell us that our pool was out of compliance with new code regulations and would need to be shut down. We would look into it, discover that she was mistaken, and bring it to the attention of all the individuals who were present at the meeting that she was mistaken. She kept on doing it, and we kept on discovering each time that she was lying. It happened she has an HOA management business and had asked us to hire her company to do all our HOA work for anywhere between $700 to $1,000 a month. When attending meetings and blatantly lying about infractions that weren't there didn't pay off, she began taking pictures of what she felt were other individuals' violations and sending me email or texting me with pictures. I told her that if she's on other folks' property, then technically she's trespassing, and she didn't have any business doing this. But I assured her that I would handle all the violations that she forwarded to me. But I would also be informing those homeowners that she approached their property and brought it to the attention of the HOA that she was doing this, and I would forward them the photos that she took. She phoned me saying that's not what you wanted to have occur. She did not want to be known as the woman who had reported them to the HOA. And I told her that she should have considered this prior to getting on other people's yards and property and begin to take photographs of items that she believes are against the HOA covenant. She never messages me again and never attended any further HOA meetings. And the next one is headed HOA Karen calls 911 on Grandpa for fishing after Texas flooding. And by the way, if you guys still like their HOA tales, please don't forget to like the video and leave some star emojis in the comment if you want to help me out and combat the damn YouTube algorithm. So, this total harpy of a Karen thought it was a brilliant idea to play with my 82-year-old Papa Grandpa, for you northern or foreign people. I am putting this here for him because he doesn't understand how the internet actually works. We were having our weekly family dinner, and he was a bit quieter than normal and a bit distraught. After I poked at him for a bit, I discovered what occurred. So, we also are based in Texas and just had contend with a massive flooding situation. So, all already was slightly tense. To those who wonder, we were not in the section where it was worst, but our section did have some minor damage. Nothing compared to the equipment you have most likely seen on television, though. My papa worked for decades as a rancher, and it wasn't until he was well into his 60s that he finally consented to retiring and spent the remaining years of his life relaxing and doing things that he enjoyed. His largest hobbies that he always had were hunting and fishing. And he was a progressive kind of guy too, because when I was a little girl, he took me hunting, and a lot of men his age thought it was a boy thing. He can't actually hunt anymore because of poor eyesight, but he can fish and is devoting a lot of his retirement years to doing it. He has a canal not too far from where we reside that he likes to visit and tend to end up with at least a few largemouth baits by the end of the day. I had known. He went fishing the previous day, and lo and behold, that's when the problems began. Papa is indeed a member of an HOA, but the canal he fishes at is not. The woman who manages the HOA is a complete Karen, and she chose to show up and just harass him for absolutely no reason and out of the blue. He explained that there were 2 reasons she was just yelling at him about, and he couldn't get her to calm down regardless. The first is that she was insisting there was no fishing permitted within the HOA, and he was harming the wildlife. He even showed her he had a permit and other individuals fishing and not being yelled at by Karen. She was apparently targeting him specifically as they continued to converse more. She continued to insult him and informed him that it was immoral for him to be fishing at such an age and he was frightening kids away. My papa is a courteous man and told her that it was public area and he could use it. But when pressed too hard, He has his limit like everyone else. He was not leaving, and Karen had the nerve to call the police on him, telling them that he was fishing illegally and harassing her, until they arrived. She was tossing rocks into the water to scare the fish out of the area, essentially making him quit. Of course, the police didn't do a whole lot about it, because he had a permit. Karen didn't care about that, however, and simply began harassing him, using her status on the HOA to do so and get what she wanted. And by the way, guys, one interesting thing I just saw as a person that does not reside in America, so you have to get a permit to fish in public waters. But to have a gun out in public, you don't require a license or permit for that in most areas at least. I've got to say, America is quite interesting. And on another note, I think HOA vehicles also need to be licensed or something to operate these HOAs. Perhaps something to propose your local lawmakers. So, he gave me a letter which he received from the HOA, and it was informing him that fishing would be prohibited in the HOA, and he could no longer remain at the local canal. This letter was complete crap. Sure, it had the HOA letterhead and all, but that was irrelevant because they never did, nor ever have, had any authority over who was allowed to fish at the canal. It wasn't HOA property. It was public property or even state property, if you really want split hairs about it. The letter went on to speak of how it was a place for families, and no one wanted to have an old man fishing there, that he would need to seek out activities more indoors appropriate for him. I was outraged over this, and he was sort of lost as to what he could do to get her to leave him alone. I felt legal action was a bit of a stretch unless she really did start sending him fines or something. Instead, I created a Facebook page for him and invited all the people he knew in the community. Papa had been living here his whole life and was acquainted with everybody from the fellows that cleaned up after themselves all the way to the mayor of the city. It didn't take long for his following to build and people to be sending messages congratulating him. Then I assisted him in making a post. The post detailed what Karen had done to him, wondering if everyone else felt the same way about him, just wanted to live out his retirement at Fish, ensuring to include that Karen called the police on him as well. The comments that poured in were just amazing. They were furious at Karen, and some were saying they would report her to the HOA for abuse of authority. It took only a few days before pretty much everyone around it had witnessed it. Messing with a nice old man everyone loves is going to make everyone hate you. Now, Karen could have just left it at that, been hated for a bit, and everyone would have most likely moved on. Nope. Karen instead felt compelled to double down on the whole thing. She demanded individuals attend the emergency HOA meeting she was organizing to hear the so-called true story. Individuals did show up, including myself, and Karen did not have a true version of events. What she had was a series of excuses instead. The most significant one being that my papa fishing was very offensive due to recent flood, telling me that by fishing, he was in some way mocking the fact that there had been a flood. Just some all-around crap that didn't even make sense, but just got people even more irritated with her. I also found out that this wasn't the first time she had been messing with him and other elderly folks in the neighborhood. She just appeared to dislike old people and would scream at them for taking walks or just anything that allowed them to be outside of the house. For Papa, she had informed him previously that if he wished to walk outside, he was to only do it on his own land. He never said anything to me about this previously, though. On the internet, everyone was writing about their own experiences with Karen and wishing to teach her a lesson. The reason she concluded the encounter with the promise to call the cops again the next time he went fishing after informing him that it was not allowed. I and my papa collaborated to get some revenge on Karen and attempted to place her in her position. He had some retired buddies and I advertised online and informed individuals at my workplace regarding an idea we had. It was a Thursday and we were attempting to organize this whole thing in one day, which wasn't simple, but we were able to do it. So, Friday arrived and I went down with Papa to the canal. Rather than viewing a few people, you might typically see there were around 30 of them, all with fishing equipment and chairs and coolers with drinks in them. We were not having a party per se, if that is what you assumed. We were having a little bit of an open fishing derby. Not anything official, just a little neighborhood thing. It sort of blew into something bigger than it was, and nobody was really keeping tabs on what they caught, because we all knew it wasn't about being a winner. A few folks brought homemade signs that read Fishing Derby on it. A group of school children established a lemonade stand that also sold cookies. They had a small sign indicating that the proceeds were for flood victims. The lemonade was gone, but cash continued to be directed their way. Texans take huge pride in taking care of our own. If you were wishing Karen did not show up, then I have some bad news for you. She did, and she was outraged. She was yelling and asking who was behind disturbing the peace and having a party without HOA approval. Paw was the first to get up and inform Karen that the whole thing was his brainchild, and if she felt like calling the police, then she should go ahead and do so. She did, believing they were going to take her side, and were still smiling when they arrived. They were all taking videos on their phone, just anticipating the inevitable blast. Karen, officers, you have to arrest this gentleman. He's fishing on HOA property illegally, and he's having an event without a permit. Officer, sir, is this some kind of event, Papa? No, not exactly. Some of us just wanted to come out here and fish. You know how much competition there is among people when it comes to fishing. Some of my friends here actually did finish in some tournaments when they were at their prime. Karen, he's lying. In addition, they put up a stand illegally to sell. She was not gesturing towards the actual children. Officer, it's a lemonade stand, and I don't actually see anything being sold currently. They might just be messing around. He arrived after they had sold out. It was evident that he was aware, but wouldn't arrest kids for selling lemonade. They were doing what they had to do legally. Karen, but look at all the fish. He's attempting to destroy the kennel just after the devastating floods. It's against the law. Officer, this is a public establishment. As long as everyone fishing possesses a permit, they are fine. The officer was forced to tell her at least 3 times that everything that was occurring here was legal. One of them even slipped a 10 into the donation jar. The girl explained at their booth, they talked with my papa for some time, really just to tease Karen, but were quizzing him about how long he'd been out fishing instead. Karen was embarrassed and had to sulk off with the rest of the neighborhood, mocking her. After witnessing how many fish Papa caught, someone gave him one of those singing fish you hang on the walls as his prize for winning. He learned yesterday that the remaining HOA gathered with Karen and compelled her to resign willingly. I also realize that if she continues to call the police and they continue to come to the canal for the same reason, she is going to find herself in trouble instead. My pop is going to go fish again soon and enjoys the Facebook I made for him too. He doesn't completely know how to work it, but he had me put up a picture of him and his biggest fish. And also, he told me to wear when he goes fishing and to invite anyone who would like to come join me. Like seriously, the fact that someone wanted to harm this wonderful old man just makes me realize that Karen was not born with a heart. And here in Texas, we do everything big, even our hearts. And yeah, guys, hope the new HOA leader does not turn out to be as terrible as this Karen. Regardless, next one is from our /legal advice and entitled Borrowed Friend's RV, and it got destroyed in a flood. My question is going to be who is responsible legally for the damage to the RV, and is that party negligent for the damage? I borrowed a friend's RV. We are still friends to go to a wedding. The wedding site has 2 RV hookups, and there were not enough bedrooms to accommodate everyone to stay at the wedding site. Both RV slips were occupied, and 4 people tent camped there also. There was a severe flash flood. We had to have helicopter and boat rescue, but all came out alive, and the RV had approximately 8 feet of water in it for approximately 9 hours, and is a total loss. We did manage to have it towed back, and did have a mobile mechanic drain all the fluids and attempt to see if we could get the engine running. It's a 1990 model, which our friend just purchased and estimated at a value of approximately $10,300. We gave the mechanic $1,000, and when he attempted to start it after the replacement of our fluids, the starter would not be able to turn the engine. So he told us we must take the engine to a machine shop or change the engine, and we're going to be in for many thousands of dollars with no assurance that it'll run. Also, there's a lot of other damage to the interior and other components from mold and mud. The mechanic will purchase it for $1,500. I don't know if he would attempt to repair it, or if he would scrap the parts that are worth something. The RV only had liability coverage. I did contact my insurance company, but they told me since it was a flood that nothing would be covered. We requested the venue to provide their insurance company information to determine if they do have flood insurance and whether or not they would cover it, because our friend did some research and discovered that some insurance companies will consider an RV a home if it is connected, but the venue is not providing us with any information regarding their insurance and now is having their lawyer respond to us. If it is discovered that legally neither I nor the venue is at fault, then I'll purchase the RV for my friend myself, because I believe that my friend is not liable as they loan it to me as a courtesy. But if it comes out that I'm at fault legally for the destruction of the property, and if my conduct is negligent, then I would want it paid by my insurance company since I have personal liability through my renter's insurance policy. By the way, my insurance company informs me that they would have to sue me, but I don't believe it's so. I think that they can file a claim so my insurance company can choose to avoid legal costs if they agree where the liability is. But anyway, I think that my friend could sue me through small claims court without much difficulty if needed. If it happens that the wedding venue is under legal liability, then presumably the best course of action would be to sue in small claims court. The venue contract only specifies that we are liable for anything that we directly do. There is no other waiver of liability in the contract. We were not made aware that the wedding venue was in a 100-year floodplain. They did not even try to inform us that there was a flash flood warning issued for where the property is. And since the venue is just 100 feet away from a major river, that we would be in immediate life danger. As I mentioned earlier, we had to be rescued. 6 members of the wedding party were stuck on top of cars that had been swept downstream or in trees, so individuals might have perished. They acknowledged receiving the flash flood warning text message on their phone, but explained that they did not think it was worth bothering us, since it was past 2 a.m. I am not certain if they are liable for destruction of property, aka the RV, but ethically they were duty-bound to inform us that we need to evacuate to higher ground. A half-dozen other vehicles were totaled, another RV, and tens of thousands of dollars worth of property damage by the DJ and the photographer as well. The rules dictate I have to give a location, but not personal identifying information. So, the state was Texas. But if I provide the city/count, then I think it'd be pretty simple to determine what wedding location it was. Again, my question is, who is legally responsible for the RV being damaged? And is that party negligent? And yeah, guys, I have a question. Have you ever experienced being affected by flooding? I have to say I'm very fortunate that my house here in north of Thailand is not usually subject to flooding because it's relatively far away from any river. But not very far from me. Essentially, the whole city was underwater a few months ago, and the situation was very serious. A lot of people, I wouldn't say they lost their whole house, but a lot of the stuff within it was ruined, and a lot of small businesses lost nearly everything. We actually only returned to the north when the flood was nearly finished. And coming here, we saw a lot of boat-carrying trucks, because literally the rescue teams only rescue people with boats in the city. Like any other vehicle, could not pass through the water. There were also some military vehicles that could pass through. But mostly, the rescue teams were employing boats. And trust me, it was actually so sad to see because you also read from the news that many people lost their lives, particularly old people who could not escape fast enough. So yeah, flooding suck. Either way, update to the story. Nothing dramatic did end up occurring, but thought I'd just post how things netted out. At least it's an interesting tale. We didn't pursue anything at all, though the more I found out, the more I felt like the venue did have some real responsibility. If not a money one, at least one of a moral/ethic nature. They had placed the RV hookups and tent camping area in a recognized floodplain. The permanent structures were all on 15T stilts and perhaps 3 to 4 feet above altitude than when they had us parked RVs and had individuals in tents. The property/venue manager received all the severe flood notices and confessed that he did not bother to inform the wedding party/guests because it was late at night. And by the way, guys, I'm no lawyer or anything, but that to me sounds like criminal negligence. So, you'd prefer that people sleep when there are flash floods occurring, because I suppose you don't want to wake them up or something. That's totally crazy to me. Either way, our phones blow up with weather warnings, but none of us knew the neighborhood or had any idea how much danger we were in. We discovered later that the house had been sold and was closing a couple of days after the wedding. I believe if we would have made a legitimate request of their attorney to help us cover some costs, they likely would have. But we just decided we genuinely wanted to push forward and not get hung up mentally if it did not work out that way. We should have at least asked. So I do feel like we made an error by not taking 5 minutes to ask. But things are the way they are. The individuals who were intense and a few individuals who were sleeping off their inebriation in their car so that they would not drink and drive were literally in a life or death scenario. The majority of the individuals saved certainly believed they were in a life or death scenario, but the tent/car sleeper individuals actually were in a life-threatening position. It's absolutely insane to look back on how various people were going about what was going on with us at the time. My wife is a very tough individual, and she never skipped a beat the entire evening. I wasn't personally fearful for whatever reason, but I took a quick second every 15 minutes or so to go over the options my wife and I were making. And I felt secure that we were making appropriate choices for the information that we did have. And that put a lot of confidence in me that for whatever little we could control, we weren't doing things worse. And it just allowed me to not worry about bad potential outcomes that we couldn't control. My wife was so resilient throughout the whole process. Her whole concentration was on calling in on everyone and how they were, and attempting to provide them with strength. The moment I closed the front door when we returned to our home, it was as though all the things that her mind could put on hold during an emergency took cover at that particular moment. She had PTSD for about a year. Honestly, I didn't know anything about PTSD before she was afflicted with it. Some individuals made horrible choices to attempt to save the 10 individuals who didn't have correct safety gear. Fortunately, none of them perished from their choices, but I was enraged, so amazingly angry with them and couldn't get them to stop. These individuals were considering using extension cords like safety ropes to attempt crossing a rushing flooded river. We subsequently actually discovered that there was a group of individuals who felt trapped in their building. The two structures in question were 3-story stilts connected by a wooden deck, and they went through a whole different type of trauma because someone had led them to believe that they did not have the liberty to vacate the great room in this building. My wife and I even entered that great room on several occasions to monitor people, but we didn't realize that they felt so trapped in the room. And I suppose it didn't register with them that if my wife and I could go in and out, so could they. That was terrible to find out that they experienced that extra unwarranted trauma. I don't remember the numbers, but it was on the news reports of the rescue. It was roughly 68 of 90 individuals rescued. The remaining ones were at another building, approximately 100 yards away, which did not get affected by the flood. It occurred in Texas, and my in-laws on the East Coast watched it on their evening news. The local community was wonderful. Our function, in which the only individuals affected by the flood, but they engaged their American Red Cross, transported us all by bus to the high school to collect dry clothes and warm up and acquire food and hydrate. The photos of the cast that streamed downstream until they became entangled in the property. Fans appear crazy. An entire apocalyptic scene. A Canadian reality television show named I Do Redo produced an episode on their wedding and covered for them to have such an incredible second wedding. The host of this show did some stupid things and got canceled, so none of us, as far as I know, ever got to see the episode. Even though we did hear that it aired on CV one time, but never reached Netflix like we were promised it would. Either way, it was absolutely worth being at the second wedding and healing in a way too. We felt so bad for the couple that let us borrow their RV, though they spent like a year restoring it and never even got to take it out themselves. We took it out on its first trip, and that was the last you saw of that RV. We purchased it from our friends for an amount they priced it at that they had invested and paid them for it within 12 months. And before we finish the video, let us read one more humorous story from our /malicious compliance. It is called Stuck to the Script. So I did word for word. So 818 female worked at a call center for roughly 3 months, primarily assisting with resetting passwords and answering simple questions. In training, they instructed us to be natural and conversational. Cool. I did this and received wonderful feedback from the callers. Then we had a new supervisor who lost it if we didn't read the script verbatim. She told me, If you go off script even a little bit, you'll get written up. Oh, okay. The next call, this guy tells me, "Hey, my account is locked. Can you help me quickly?" I say, robot mode, "Hello. Thanks for calling. My name is Name. I hope you're having a great day. How can I assist you with your technical issue today?" He hesitated and said, "Are you kidding me?" I continued exactly verbatim, even bizarre lines of fake empathy like, "I can definitely see how aggravating this one-of-a-kind circumstance would be." During the call, my supervisor passed by and actually listened. She cocked her head, appeared lost, and during the call asked, "Why were you speaking like that?" I simply replied, "You told me to use the script." She had no retort, and interestingly, the very next day she informed our team, "Just ensure that you hit the main points. You can be natural now." And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you again.